Well, hello, friends. Marcus D coming at you with part 4 in this 7-part video series on my Great Questions quest. And today in this session, we're going to talk about the communicator. And folks, once I had found evidence that there was a high God who had in fact made everything, this entire universe, you and I, all the atoms, was literally holding them all together. I wanted to know if he had communicated in any way with us, if he had reached out to mankind, told us maybe why he had made us, and what the purpose of this existence was. And it made sense to me to do that because I figured he knew more about everything than everybody else combined. And so ultimately, it was only his opinion that really mattered. And so I began, folks, looking for what I call a truth source. Something that might have happened in history that went beyond the capability of man on his own to create or to come up with. Something that you might say was of supernatural origin, a supernatural origin. And so at this point in my journey, I shifted from scientific evidence to historical evidence. And I began checking out the findings and the perspectives of many people, many scholars who had studied some of this, wanted to get their take on it. And what I'm going to do is just quickly share with you what I found. I don't have the time to actually get into the evidence too much. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the evidence. But that I did find out that this creator had indeed reached out to us and that he had done so in 2 unique ways. Again, just summarizing here. And not only that, folks, but it made sense to me that he had actually done this because we're relational. And I figured it made sense that he was. We're that way because he was first. And so I found out that he had, all right? And there was something unique. There was a truth source. And there was actually 2 of them, 2 ways that this unique God had reached out. And each one of these actually validated the other, which was kind of interesting too. And it was through a very special book and an extraordinary person. Both of which are totally unlike any other, all right? And we're going to actually talk about the person in the 6th session of these little videos here. But for now, I want to just chat with you briefly about the book, all right? And the book is something that I'm sure most of you have heard of. Again, what I like to call an open secret. There's so much evidence, so many things I discovered on this journey that were things right out in front of me that I just either never noticed before or never paid attention to, or somebody had never pointed them out to me. Most of it were not deep hidden secrets, okay? They were open and right in front of us, and that's why I like to call them that, open secrets, all right? But the book is called the Bible. I'm sure most folks have heard about it. Most people are aware of it. Maybe some haven't, but a lot of people don't really, like myself, especially growing up Catholic, I'd heard about the Bible, heard that it was supposedly God's Word, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know really where it had come from, how we had gotten it. And it's a very, very unique book. There's no other book quite like it anywhere in the world. And here's just a little bit about it, what makes it unique. Number one, it's not written by one person. It's a book comprised of 66 different books, written by 40 different authors, folks, over a period of approximately 1,500 years. And from each of those authors had a variety of different backgrounds. But as it comes together, those 40 different authors, those 66 books over 1,500 years, has a harmony and a unity to it in theme that defies our understanding. There's no way a bunch of folks could have gotten together and written that without some providential guidance going on. To have put that together, okay? And so it is completely unique, all right? Something else that's unique about it is the fact that it has over 300 predictions regarding the future that have all come true. That is a statistical marvel that could have actually happened. It's actually also scientifically and historically accurate. I've read and listened to scholars on both sides. I've had some that are saying, it's not. I've had others that said it is. And again, I looked at the evidence that these folks presented. And again, I studied that rather extensively on this journey. And I can say it most emphatically it is scientifically and historically accurate as well. I found that the evidence that historians use to prove things happened in the past, the amount of evidence supporting the Bible itself is unparalleled in its quantity and quality. There's no other book of antiquity. There's really no other book in existence that has the historical proofs that this book does. All right, so there's no other book remotely like it, all right? And it's unique in its message too, folks, because it does indeed answer life's greatest questions. In fact, it's God revealing his mind to us. And these thoughts from this creator to man not only reveal to us at least a portion of what he's like, but also the real purpose behind this entire universe and the true answers to the greatest questions of our brief existence within it. It's interesting, folks. Tomorrow's promised to none of us, and this life is so brief, and most of us are looking for something beyond this life. All right, is there something beyond this life? And what this book actually shares about that is pretty amazing. And so let me get into that a little bit, all right, here. It definitely confirms what science had already told me about this universe, that he'd made everything and that he is now sustaining everything. It actually says that too, but it also talks about this highest purpose and ultimate destiny for man. The Bible contains the highest ultimate destiny for man anywhere to be found anywhere in any type of religion or philosophy. Which in itself validates the fact that it's of a divine origin, all right? And here's some of the things that it actually talks about, and I'm just going to hit on some highlights because we're actually going to talk about these in the next 3 sessions because these are some of the things that are in there, all right? So I'm going to summarize some of this. First of all, when he made everything in this realm, he originally made everything very good, far better than it is now. We are currently living in a wounded world, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But he also made every one of us, and each one of us is special and unique. And he pays attention to us. We're special to him, and we're dealing with an infinite God. I just want to point this out. We're dealing with an infinite God. For us to say 7 billion people, how's he paying attention to me? That's a lot of people for us, but for an infinite being with an infinite mind. Folks, it's like all his attention is on each and every one of us exclusively. He doesn't have to divide up his attention to pay attention to us, if that makes sense to you, okay? And that's amazing to me. That's comforting to me to know that we're not just some random accident, but we got this great being who's like he is like our dad, all right? And but what has happened is we're now living in a wounded world. And what it also says is our great-great-grandparents messed things up, all right? They rebelled against him. And consequently, all of their offsprings, all their great-grandchildren, which is what we are, we all inherit now, the scriptures calls it a sin nature. It's this nature in us that separated us from God. We come into this world, we have this kind of inbred little rebellious streak in us against him. And I'm sure some of you have heard of the 10 Commandments. Some of you know that they're still relevant. They're still in the book. Most of us have broken, some of them, if not all of them, at some point in time. And that's a standard like a parent would have for anybody, all right? And so now, trying to raise up their kids properly, all right? But now, because of that, we live in a cursed creation. There's a remnant of beauty in this world, but there's also a lot of rampant inadequacy. We live in a world riddled with rust, dust, dirt, and decay, death, and disintegration, right? It's filled with knuckleheads. It's filled with suffering and sorrow and sickness and disease. We got animals eating each other. It's ridiculous, okay? And not only that, we die. We weren't supposed to originally die. That's what the Bible reveals as well. And as a matter of fact, we actually are immortal. We have an immortal soul, all right? And so it's only our body that dies. That's great. And let me just touch on something else that's huge. This creator is going to recreate this creation. This current heaven and earth is going to pass away. It's going to be destroyed, actually, folks. And then he's going to recreate a new one. All right, that's what we're going to talk about in the next session. And it's going to be of such a far greater order, far better than this one, that it defies our ability to understand it. But we can catch glimpses of it. It gives us glimpses of it. And I became fascinated with this once I realized that. I always had this longing in my heart for something beyond this wounded world, all right? In this temporary world where everything falls through our fingers, nothing will last. And so this God is going to recreate a new heaven and a new earth for us. We can actually receive a new body and a new mind, folks. And I'm not talking about a young body. I'm talking about a body of a completely different nature, of a different order of being. A supernatural body that'll never wear out, a supernatural mind that excites me even more, and this in an eternal realm that we can live in. And not only that, this God has actually told us that we have the ability to actually enhance our standing in that eternal realm. But here's something I want to point out also that's something that's of vital importance. Even though that new heaven, that new earth is a subtle issue, folks, not every person is automatically swept into that reality. What we do in this life matters. And what this book has talked about is this God has actually provided a key, a unique key, and it revolves around that person that we're going to talk about in the 6th session. Because what needs to happen is several things, all right? We need to be cleaned. We need to be improved. We need to be forgiven. All right? But we need to be changed into that higher order of being. And this God is the only one with the capability of doing that. And this key is the only way we can ensure that happens. And it's not just, in one sense, it's an instantaneous transformation, but on the other hand, it's a lifelong process. That's the importance of this life. And as we pursue that process, we are setting ourselves up for that eternity. And we're maximizing the experience we're going to have in that eternity. All right? So we're going to talk about that. And I just wanted to, in this particular session, share with you some of the highlights of where all of this is leading, the purpose of this existence. And again, just to kind of open that picture up to y'all, because it's been something that I have been pursuing. Once I became aware of this, folks, I've been a businessman most of my life. Most business people are interested in ROI. All right, they are willing to serve, and they're willing to do things to hopefully better the lives of others, but in so doing, set themselves up for a better life themselves. Return on investment, all right? And when I began to start to understand this, and especially as my eyes were opened and I started realizing that every pleasure, every treasure that we can accumulate in this life is temporary. But this God was saying, you know what? There's an eternal realm coming where you can actually set yourself up in that eternity. And there's going to be a realm there where you won't lose anything and you'll be able to enjoy it forever. I became very intrigued with that. And that is why I've been on this pursuit. That's why this is really a personal pursuit of mine. I've just been asked to share some of this as I've had the opportunity to pass some of it on to people, and people are like, Mark, would you be willing to share some of this? So that's why I'm doing this. But, I'm into this, okay? And, I hope that some of you all will catch this. If you haven't already, you'll catch this vision of what you can have, what we all can have, what's coming one way or the other, and we don't want to miss out on it. And we don't want to, if I can say it this way, folks, as I wrap this up, we don't want to step into eternity and have missed out on untold wealth and pleasure and standing in that realm. Because all we were focusing on was this temporary realm. Okay, so we're going to talk more about that. But for right now, this God has reached out, and what he's told us is mind-blowing. Okay, so y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon next time. Bye-bye.